I said, why have you done that? Why? He said, Pastor, when I had that job, I had to work 15-hour days. I had no time to pray a prayer. I didn't even have time to read my Bible. I was so tired by the time I came home. I had so many commitments. I was living such a stressed out lifestyle. I had no time for my family, no time for my children, no time for my wife, no time for church. I used to miss church sometimes. I never went to a prayer meeting. I never involved in any ministry. And I knew that the job that I was having that paid me well was sucking away at my lifestyle with God. He said, now that I have a lesser paying job, I've learned to curtail my wants, live less, but I have more time for God, more time for the family, for my children, for time that is much more important than anything else. I almost had tears coming to my eyes because I said to him, I said, I've not heard this from many people. Most people keep on grasping for more and never ever satisfied. There was a documentary on Australian TV just some days ago talking about men that have already reached the top of their ladder, but in the process of doing it, they have lost their family, divorced their family. They'll divorce their wife, lost their children. So some of them who are on the top have changed and now doing something less, being more homebird, working from their home. So they don't want to keep climbing the corporate ladder all the time. As a believer, you have choices to make. If your job, your career is robbing you of your work for the Lord, in time for yourself, for your family, for your children, to do what is right, to teach them thy word, his word, and to do something for God in his kingdom, then that job is not worth it. The second thing that people will go for is possessions. They feel the one who has more toys wins. And that in some sense seems true. People have a lot, they're seemingly happy. But do you know that possessions lose their allure very quickly? When you buy a brand new car, it looks wonderful when you buy it, but after 1 year old, it's like any other car. The sense of joy when you first bought it is diminishes because none of the things of this world can satisfy your soul and spirit. Ultimately, only God can. Jesus said, a man's life does not consist in the things that he possesses. So now many things you have, no matter how many toys you may have in life, ultimately it will not satisfy your soul. You can have these things, but Jesus said, unless you're willing to forsake all and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. What he was saying is not to become poor. What he was saying is this, your possession should never possess you. The perspective must be right. In the possessing of things, your walk with God does not get changed. In James 4:14, it's a very strong phrase there. In fact, it is a formal question. James is asking, what is your life? What is your life? It's a little vapor. God compares it in his word to a vapor. Vapors don't last long. If you live in a mountainous area, there might be a sort of mist on the ground in the early hours of the morning, but the moment the sun shines on it, in split seconds it disappears. A whole lifetime in God's sight is like vapor that appears for a little while and is gone. So the question is asked, what is your life? It is, first of all, a very, very personal question. It doesn't deal with somebody else's life, it's your life. What is your life? The sooner we take responsibility for who we are and our actions, the sooner we get results. What is your life, sir? You find, secondly, it's a very present question. It's not what was your life, it's what is your life now. There's no point looking at the past. If you want to accomplish something for God and make something of your life and count for God, forget what is in the past. If there are sins, confess them, deal with them. If there are mistakes, leave them for experience. But somehow focus today in the present and make your life count now. No point thinking of what was. How many people live in the rooms of yesterday? My pain, my problem, my mistakes, my sins. And they never amount more to a hill of beans. Why? The past has become an awesome force that hinders them from progressing with God. The third thing that is there is not only a present question, it is also a profitable question. What is your life? The sooner you ask yourself the question, you have to come up with some answers. Is my life counting for God? Am I becoming useful? Am I becoming a better person? Am I more mature? Am I accomplishing something for God? Is my life moving in the right direction? What is your life? It is profitable. If you want to live life in the max, this is a question that you must answer. It is personal, it is present, it is profitable. You can never make your life more than what it ought to be unless you answer these questions and answer them honestly. The second passage that I read to you has to do with Jesus Christ in Philippians chapter 2. That gives you not only the question, but the method to live your life. The key issues. It tells you, let this mind be in you, in Philippians chapter 2, which was also in Christ Jesus, who in the form of God thought it not robbery to be equal with God. Jesus is God, he always will be. But there came a time when he stood on the portals of heaven and stripped himself of all the accoutrements of glory, stepped from eternity down into time. We don't really know what that means, do we? We haven't a clue what that really means. It's hard to understand what time means to someone who's never lived in time. It's like living and looking at a worm and trying to creep into the same hole of a worm, changing yourself and becoming a worm yourself, identifying with a worm in a hole. None of us would do that, but he did it. From eternity down into time. The one that spoke one word and said, let there be light, and a billion galaxies came to being, found himself in the arms of his mother, unable to speak one single intelligent word. The one that sat on a throne with millions of angels standing around saying, holy, 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 found himself in a borrowed manger with straw for bedding, with dirty clothes for diapers, in a stinking, filthy stable with cows and donkeys for company. The one who dwelt in light where no one can look upon nor even touch, found himself clothed with flesh, blood, and bones. The one day could be taken to a cruel cross and have spikes down his hands and feet so that he could be crucified as our substitute and for our victory for sin. He did that all, friend. All through his life, he did that. Let me remind you of three things that I see that if you want to have the motivation for the right kind of life to the max. He was, first of all, selfless. He did not grasp what was his. If you want your own rights, you want your own way, you cannot live life to the max. You must be willing to give up sometimes what you consider your rights. Consider your privileges in order to be involved in his service. That some things I may have to give up. Something I must count as nothing in order for me to do something for God. So there has to be selflessness. God calls people to give up things. There might be something in your life that's preventing you from being everything you can be for God because it is something you love so much. But in order to be involved in the service of God, that very thing has to be given up. It has to be. You can't keep it for yourself anymore. Selflessness. The second thing that is about the life of Christ is found in the word service. He came to serve. In fact, he told his disciples, the Son of Man did not come to be ministered unto,